Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever and wherever you're listening. In this episode, I chat with Stephen Brand. Stephen is Talent Attraction, Marketing and Experience Lead at HSBC, and he has a wealth of experience both agency and client side. It was really great catching up with Stephen. We were actually meant to talk about the role of talent communities in employer and recruitment marketing, but our green room chit-chat was completely different. So I've made it an episode in its own right. We chat about taking an agile approach to content in your employer and recruitment marketing. The next episode will be about talent communities, but in the meantime, let's get on with the chat.
I think with social, so we were just talking about that and about the need to, have a volume of rotating creative on channels like that, so you don't bore people to tears and just let them tell you what's good or what isn't, rather than a bunch of us 40 somethings trying to work it out.
True. So true. I mean, look, you can, with all the experience and understanding of audience, you can to a certain extent, but you just got to kick it out, haven't you? Get it out there.
Yeah, because there's two bits to it, because there's a science to it, and I think the science, you can lean into your experience and sort of historic data and those kind of things and start to work on it that way. But there is a little bit where sometimes something will just land and everybody will look at each other and not quite know why, and you won't be able to replicate it. It's like, it's the reason, I don't know, EMF didn't write back-to-back number ones. There's just something about some songs that lands, and then you try and replicate it and you can't quite do it, and it was just that moment in time. So yeah, I think you can get a little bit caught up in trying to get to some kind of design or creative perfection, and just like, now we're able to, when you and I started, without giving away ages, you kind of had to make that call up front, because once you were committed, there weren't no backing out of the media. That was it, you were done. Now you can change it sort of minute by minute, hour by hour. So I don't think we have to work so hard anymore to get it right up front. We have to work harder once it's live to move it and shift it and learn from it. But it's just a different dynamic, I think. But it's very interesting.
It's taken a while for agencies to get used to that. So I think all marketing teams to get used to that.
Yeah,
that approach
I think
of moving
so.
away from having that solid fixed media space to something a whole lot more dynamic and trackable.
Yeah, well, and I think psychologically, I can imagine for the creatives, it's a really strange then circumstance to be in, because their thing has always been about iterating and working it through and brainstorming it and things, and getting to a point where the final product is something they're really happy with. They're rightly protective and always were a bit funny about wanting to surface anything that was kind of incomplete in any way.
Absolutely.
And now sort of encouraging them to say, actually, do you know what, don't get beyond the scamp stage. There's not necessarily any need. You don't need to get it perfect. We'll find that out in market, but that's my job. That's what I do. And so, well, actually, now what you can do is generate the initial ideas, then we'll do some live testing, and then we can iterate and polish and things. But it changes the order. But I can imagine psychologically it's quite a different mindset to have towards your work, to kind of let it loose before you're kind of done with it. But
definitely. Perfection's a form of procrastination, a form of partly maybe justifying the fees as well, of spending days and days and days of developing an idea.
Exactly. But also, doesn't it just lay a pressure on, if you spent all of this money and all of this time and all of the client back and forth to get something you say is perfect, then the expectation you're setting for what it's going to do must be higher than if you say, do you know what, we're going to release a series of sort of initial concepts and ideas, and we're going to see which one works, and then we'll work from there. And then it's kind of like, well, it's early anyway, so we haven't set expectations, we haven't spent all the money, we're holding some of it back to work with the concepts that do seem to land. So I think it should take a little bit of the pressure off, and obviously a lot of the bigger pressures you get are around time. So anything I think businesses can do to be live earlier have got to satisfy stakeholders with a view that, again, your opportunity, as long as you're not misspelling the company name or trampling over the values in some way, then you can let the market tell you what's really gonna land well, deliver the best return for that investment, and then work from there.
I had a conversation with a client yesterday or the day before, which is actually really similar, which was doing a video shoot. Like, I said, look, instead of like chucking 20 grand at this, and all of us to some extent feeling, let's hope this is right, we hope it goes down well, is actually let's take half of that budget, 40% of that budget, and put it into something, and then invest the remaining part into other series of content that is similar. At least let's do something. It's going to be good for him, because it means he doesn't have to go, I really hope this works, quite a chunk of change.
Yeah, exactly. So such a big, and flagship items are all good. But yeah, when you pin so much of your own budget, and therefore I guess your internal reputation to a degree, on this one piece of content, that you're delaying probably certain other things, you're pushing back on stakeholders to wait, then again, that really ramps up expectations and things. Whereas if you're able to say, right, what we're going to do is we're going to build this pretty quickly off the back of it, we can do some cuts, and it's going to be a bit rougher around the edges and not as polished. But in our conversations, that's not so important anyway. And those more sort of human sort of conversations, that's fine. And also, we just get to be quick and agile and see what our audience wants, and let them tell us quickly what they want to see, rather than us spending 3 or 4 months, like you say, kind of hoping we got it right, and then it turns out it's a bit of a, either we spent so long they don't want it anymore because we spent sort of 6 months finessing it. It's like, well, yeah, we wanted that 4 months ago. The world's moved on, dude. You need to move with it. So I think that can be a bit of a challenge.
I kind of say it's the perfections, the imperfections are perfect. And I just love. I've done something with a client where it's quite a senior role, and I said, well, let's get the most senior people together to actually have a conversation about the direction of the business, approach to that particular role, what that role is going to require. So actually that person really gets a proper feel for the people they're going to work with, not through soundbite, but through just people having a conversation. Of course, you've got to edit it down and everything to make sure it's right, but it's great, because then the candidates who saw those videos, they're quite long, but it was worth watching. If it's a big role, very senior role, then you're going to spend the time to consider if it's right for you.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's right. I think we've talked before about, I don't mind application processes getting quicker and making it easier, but there has to be an element of, I'm prepared to do some research and give it some due consideration, particularly for a senior move. This is a big ticket decision in my life and the company's life. So I'll absolutely spend 10 minutes watching a video, not 30 seconds, because if it gives me some real insights, a sense that I'm meeting some of the personalities, the way the company works, those kind of things are really valuable to help me decide whether I'm right to apply or not. And if I'm not, then it's great that I find out earlier, and if I am, then I'm really excited about the opportunity. So I think that sort of the longer form content definitely has a place where we're asking people not to make snapshot in feed decisions, but where it's something a little bit more profound, then I would expect, I would take some time to have a think about it, and I think a lot of other people would as well.
Thanks for listening. In the next episode, my chat with Stephen gets on the topic of talent communities in employer and recruitment marketing. So don't forget to subscribe, and it will miraculously end up as a notification on your mobile.